hip hinge, also known as the deadlift. Very, very important pattern to own and have part of your movement capacity. We learn to hinge our hips as babies prior to squatting down. So it's a very, very important pattern that you have to own, and it should be a part of your training in all facets and a part of your movement capacity. And so form-wise, it's a little bit tricky. So a couple parameters to always think about and maintain. I'll go to the side, so it's a little bit easier to see, but real quick, feet are hip width apart. Shoulder width is just a little bit too wide, I feel like. So hip width apart or closer in. There's a slight bend in the knees. Chest is always tall. Think tall chest as opposed to shoulders back. You'll hear a lot of people always say shoulders back all the time. It's more so tall chest, and then the shoulders just fall into place. So the chest is always pointed at the horizon, puff it out, and then from there, knees bent, tall chest, and you're going to lower yourself down by hinging at the hips, shooting the butt backwards to lower yourself down without giving up posture up top. And you're gonna go down as low as your hamstrings are strong enough to take you. This shin angle, this knee angle stays the same, chest is nice and tall, return up. So while you're doing this movement, a couple things to think about is your hamstrings and your feet pulling you down into position. Try to recruit as much as you can with this area of the body. So hamstrings are lengthening to pull myself down, ass shoots back, I get to my end point, and then to the return, I'm going to think of my hamstrings and my glutes contracting to pull myself up. You can think about Michael Jackson, Billie Jean, when he does his hip thrust, you're essentially doing the Michael Jackson to return up. Hip thrusting up, squeezing butt, squeezing the hamstrings to pull yourself back up to position. So just to rep out a couple to get a familiar aspect of the move. Notice I'm not bending the knees to lower myself down. You'll see that often. People will bend the knees to come down. The knee joint, the knee angle remains the same for the duration of the input. Just a slight bend. Ass comes back, boom. Boom. Another thing, torso doesn't change. So people either bend the knees or they bend at the waist to lower themselves down. So you'll see this a lot. That's a different input. That's not what we're focusing on here. So torso is maintain a constant angle the entire time. So think chest to the horizon. Boom. And this is your angle here. Hamstrings to pull you down, lengthen. Hamstrings shortening to contract to pull you up. Boom. With weight, it's the same idea. The bar stays just hovering above your body. Form is the same. Another thing to think about is pausing at both endpoints. So as you lower yourself, stick it at the bottom. And then when you come up, stick it at the top. Isolate both the concentric and the eccentric action with this input. Pause. Pause. Again, you're only going as low as your hamstrings are strong enough to take you. Not necessarily flexible enough, so this is extremely important for people who are flexible, especially female clients or female participants. Their hamstrings are very flexible and they can come all the way down. That doesn't necessarily mean they're strong enough to handle that. So with a slight bend in the knees, send the butt back, and you're only going to go as low as your hamstrings are strong enough to take you. That's going to be exposed by maintaining that knee angle and that tall torso. Boom. Speed in between, up to you. The more aggressive you are on both the descent and the return, the more challenging it's going to be. So you can go just body weight, stick, 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 and make this input very, very aggressive. Add 45 pounds or add any kind of external stimulus in addition to, and you'll make this very much a power move. So this is the hip hinge, also known as the deadlift.